My name is Pauliina Salmenhaara and I'm delighted to be here as part of the Plant-Based Asia Summit. I will be sharing 4 recipes with you, and these recipes include ingredients that will boost your immune system. This is absolutely fantastic for this time that we are living in, when most of us really are wanting to find ways in which we can improve our health, stay healthier, and as a result happier. And well, follow along these recipes and you should get some good tips for everyday things you can do to include ingredients such as garlic, ginger, turmeric, kombu, seaweed, herbs, sweet potatoes. Oh, the so humble sweet potato, which is such a good food for us to be eating. I am in a bit of a hurry today because I have hungry family waiting for food. So I'm going to do this the quick way. But if you want to do sweet potatoes the slow way, which means that they are going to be caramelized, sweeter, softer, really lush and just so delicious, then what you would do is poke them with a fork and put them in the oven facing this way for 1 hour and turn them, poke a bit. Well, you can pre-poke it on both sides and bake it on the other side for another hour. Very slow, but it does mean that there's this rich caramelization. Now the faster way, which might as well be more sustainable because the oven is on for a lesser period of time, is to cut them in half and then half again and to put some slits in it. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right, so half, so cut it in half then the other way as well. Just be careful of your fingers. And I like to, so now the knife is in the sweet potato and I'm going to bang it on the chopping board, making sure to hold firmly here. And that helps the knife to go all the way through. Like so. So don't worry if you don't have as much muscle as me, because there are techniques for doing this. Okay, let's do it again. Last one. Because this is the faster way, we want to speed it up. In addition to having cut these into quarters, I'm going to put some slivers in there. So I personally like to just gently hit it like this, and then I'm crisscrossing the other way. So it looks like this. And these are all going to go on a baking tray. And safety first. My daughter just baked some bread on this an hour ago, so I'm going to repurpose this. No need to get out a new dish or a new piece of paper. Also thinking a little bit more sustainably. And if you are thinking, why do you even have the paper? You definitely don't need it because you can do it in a ceramic tray, for example. But because we have this in use already, I'm just going to make the best of it. You don't have to coat it with olive oil, but it does give it, it doesn't burn as easily and it gives it a bit more of a coat. All right. And furthermore, I'm going to add a sprinkling of salt. And there we have it. This is now going in the oven. Let's move on to the mushroom sauce part. Yum! I have portobellos and these brown champignon butter mushrooms, and I've already cut off the bottoms of them. And next I will square these and probably cut this into maybe 6 pieces or so. I'm also using garlic, ginger, lemon, white miso paste, and in here I have white pepper. Now I am a huge fan of having these whole peppers and grinding them myself. So let's do that first. These always tend to fly around, so beware if you have pets at home to make sure that you pick them up after you. This smell is so amazing. And do you know what? Every single one of these ingredients will boost your immunity. So there's absolutely no junk here. It's all whole foods, and it's all about the preparation, like what are you going to do with them. So you can't really do anything other than something delicious and good for your own body with ingredients like these. Back to the white pepper. I am very much a by feel cook, so normally I would just take some pepper and sprinkle it without measuring it, but I will try to measure it for you all. So I'm getting the white pepper out, and I did this first because I also like to do the garlic with the pestle and mortar. So the white pepper is going to the side, and I just put in the garlics like this, and I'm going to very gently pound them to get the skin off. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in there, 6 cloves, and I'm gonna put the garlic scrap in here. So gently, like, just pound it enough that the skin starts to come off, or the peel. And now I'll show you. So you see, it comes off it comes off really nicely, because I'm so lazy to peel garlic, you know, with a knife, and this one just speeds it up. This is why I did the white pepper first, because once I put the garlic in there, this is going to get sticky and it would be harder to grind the white pepper after that. Right, and I don't mind actually if I get a few pieces of the peel in there. And now we pound away at the rest of these. Oh my goodness, who else agrees that just garlic in a pan, that smell, it's how often have you been cooking at home? You've got only garlic in the pan, somebody comes home and they're like, it smells so good, right? Amazing, amazing ingredient. Next up, ginger. I've already peeled a part of it with the spoon. I guess many of you already know this technique, but you basically just scrape the skin off with a teaspoon, for example. It's so easy to do it this way, and also you have much less food waste, because if you're cutting this off with a knife, you inevitably cut more than you need to from it. And once again, doesn't matter if there's a few pieces of peel, skin on it. There are some parts that are a bit trickier. This is a nice clear piece. So this ginger is going to join the garlic, and I'm going to cut it into some chunks. It's up to you how much ginger you want. Personally, I love it and my family is used to it, so I'm gonna put this amount. This might be enough for you, but let's say that you are feeling sick or you're about to feel sick, add in some more ginger, because this will help you. So this is going in here, and once again I'm going to pound it. So you could of course chop this with a knife, and for the most part of my life I've chopped my garlics and my gingers, but I am so crazy about this set, this tool, and it's just simplified things a lot as well. Now, I'm happy to rough it up with this. So this is what it looks like. And this is going in my pan. Now, balancing act here. I'm just going to put that all in the pan. And off this goes to be heated. I'm also putting lemon juice in here. And yeah, of course you can squeeze it with your hand, but I want to make sure I get as much from this lemon as possible. So it is worthwhile to do a little bit of extra dishes and use this sort of utensil if you have it. I mean, they're all different kinds, but this is nice because it catches the seeds. So now I have the garlic and ginger and a little bit of oil warming up there. It's on a low heat now, and I've quartered or halved, depending on the size of these button mushrooms, and I still need to do the portobellos. I used 1.5 small lemons for the juice, but I will measure it out later. Hello portobellos, how are you today? Are you ready to provide something delicious? Yeah, so these are going into 8s. You know, portobellos are great also as steaks. So instead of using those fake meats for a steak, you can use these portobellos, coat them in a mix of olive oil, lemon, salt, maybe some soy sauce, put them in the oven or the grill, and you've got yourself a steak. That's totally cruelty-free. All right, all the mushrooms are cut now. So these are going to go in the pan, and I'm not able to take the camera with me to the kitchen, so I'm going to bring the pan out here so you see how I'm going to spice it up. Here we go. Here is the pan with the garlic and ginger. Lovely smells. So in this one, I'm going to add some soy sauce because that complements the mushrooms so well. It brings this depth to it. So I'm going to put some soy sauce in here, and soy sauce is fabulous because it complements the mushrooms and brings a depth to them. So I would normally just pour by feeling. So let's see how much. Some of you are going to be like, that is a lot of soy sauce, but confession, I love soy sauce, and I'm a person who is very much towards the savory side. And in some recipes where they say half a teaspoon of this spice or a teaspoon of this spice, when I go home and do it, I don't taste it. So it might be that this 2 tablespoons is enough. It might be that we need to add some. We'll find out because we have to taste as we go along. And now, some lemon, 1 tablespoon, and I think 2 tablespoons. So stir that in, and now for the mushrooms. So this is going to look more massive to begin with, but once these mushrooms start to weep out their liquid from the inside, they will shrink. And at the same time, we want the mushrooms to suck in all those flavors. Now the mushrooms are simmering away, and I will be tasting it to see if it needs any more acid or salt. And towards the end, I will be mixing in some miso. I don't want to put it in now because if I expose it to too much high heat, it will remove the nutrient contents of it. So I will be putting, for that amount, not quite a tablespoon, but almost a tablespoon. And how am I going to mix this thick stuff into there amongst all the mushrooms? I've got the miso and I have a tea sieve and a glass, and miso goes in there, and then some warm water, and this kind of softens it and dissolves it. So let's bring that water up to the level of the miso, and now I'm going to push it through the sieve. So we get this kind of milky mixture. And just check, have I got any more in there? No, it's pretty good. So these are straight from the oven. They're lovely, so soft. So how I cooked them was, first I had them in the oven at 250 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. And then I lowered it to 200 Celsius for, let me see what time it is now, for another 20 minutes. But each oven varies, so check it. And once you can actually touch it and it's soft to the touch, that's when it's ready. And you can just sense that it's got this softness and richness to it. So I'm just gonna help to open this up a little bit, because the sauce is going to go on top of this. And let's get those mushrooms. So we're going to put the mushroom on top. Now, if you want to, you can add some cream, vegan cream, of course. There's a lot of options out there. At least for us in Finland, but I'm hoping that in Asia there's more available as well. But you can look up how to make your own cream as well from, for example, oats or cashew nuts. So if you wanted to, you could add that to the sauce, in which case it becomes a bit more thick. And just put the mushrooms on top here. Sweet potato with mushrooms and flat leaf parsley. Lunchtime! One of my top go-to foods to make when I feel like I'm coming down with something is to make a broth. And it's also the one thing I always make when my children are not feeling well. So I'm going to show you how to do a broth. There are so many different variations to this. And what's great about this one is that it's kind, so there are no animal parts used in it, because normally broth would have perhaps some bones or some other animal parts in it. This is completely plant-based and nutrient rich. What I also love about this particular broth is that I'm putting it together from ingredients that I always have around the house. Things like miso, chili, garlic, ginger, kaffir lime leaves, lemongrass, and pepper. Indeed, you can add to this by throwing in any vegetable scraps you may have. So it's actually a good idea when you cook to store those end parts of vegetables, particularly root vegetables that you don't use in that meal, and then bring them all together about once a week to make a broth. So that could be, for example, carrot stems or celery stems. I'm not using any of those because I'm doing a version which can be done like that with ingredients that you most likely have at home. So once again, I'm going to start off by pounding some of the white pepper You can use black pepper. And I'm leaving it more rough this time round. I'm putting in the ginger. Pound that. Also very rough. Some is flying out. Never mind. Some chili. Cut this. And do be careful then not to hurt yourself. And the great thing about this is that this is all going to be strained through a sieve, so you don't have to worry about bits and pieces. Just don't get the chili in your eye. Garlic. And again, not worrying about even the skins. Make some space here. More garlic. So this is very rough stuff here. Okay. I'm going to put this in the pot. And so that's all going in. And what is still going to go in there is some lemongrass. So just pound this for the flavors to release better. And we can tie it in a knot if it so agrees. And put that in the pot. Yum, yum, yum. Such a good smell. I already feel healed. Well, I'm not sick now, but it's just these smells they're so healing. And then I'm putting in the kaffir lime leaves. Miso paste is going in last because we don't want to expose it to high heat. And I would normally put in kombu, but where I am now, I don't have access to kombu. So I'm going to put in 2 nori sheets. So kombu is a type of seaweed. And when you buy it, it's hard and you crack it into these strips. And I would put 1 strip like so for this amount. Same goes to seaweed. And then I'm pouring in hot water. 1.5 liters of hot water, and I think I'm also going to add in some coriander seeds. I also would put turmeric, fresh turmeric, had I had access to it. And in Asia, these will be all readily available ingredients for you. Just allow those flavors to release a bit more. Get the coriander in there. Put in an amount that feels good for you. And make sure to put more of the ingredient you love so that it really feels soothing and healing. So this is now going on the stove, and I'm going to just let it sit and simmer for minimum half an hour if you're in a hurry, but if you can leave it on for longer, it gets better. And then do put a lid over it so you don't have all this amazing aroma just escaping into the ether. You want to keep it hooded in there for maximum flavor. Now we have broth, and we also have some leftover sweet potato from the meal before. Let's call it meal number 1. So thinking about meal number 2, which in our case is going to be dinner, I'm going to use that broth as a liquid, as a broth, in which I will have noodles, and I'm using those rice noodles that you can just pour hot water over them and let them sit for a while and they're ready. So very quick. That part of this recipe is very quick. And I'm going to be using the sweet potatoes that I have left over from lunch, which I've now chopped into pieces like this as a bite element of the soup. So far we've got broth, from before. We've got noodles, quick to make, sweet potatoes from meal number 1. And then I'm making 2 additional components. The first one is I'll be using these red bell peppers. Just use the shape you have available in your country. Red bell pepper and carrots. And I got these organic carrots. They still had a little bit of soil on them and I have not peeled them. I just washed them off. Amazing. This is like, I want to dance with this carrot. It's so cute. So those are actually going to go in the sauce that is left over from the mushrooms from meal 1. This is what's left from it. So I'm putting this in a pan, back in the same pan, and it's even got a few pieces of the mushrooms, it's got ginger and it's got all that flavor. Now, instead of throwing that away, use it. And I'm going to chop these, put them in here, and then put them on the heat. So that's the one element. The other element is tofu. So we're going to be getting our protein from here. This is unflavored tofu. 1 block is 250 grams, and we are 4 people tonight, and we have a bit of an appetite amongst us. So I'm going to do 3 blocks, so a total of 750 grams. And I'll be flavoring that with salt, pink Himalayan salt, pepper that I've ground, and I've got some turmeric powder and coriander powder in here. I put in a teaspoon of both, and I'm going to fry them in a bit of sesame oil. And I know I'll be adding soy sauce. If you are off the soy sauce, then you can just go with the salt. And I'm keeping this ready because it might be nice to give the tofu a bit of a sweet flavor, in which case instead of honey, which is not vegan, and instead of white sugar, which is, by the way, not also always vegan, and it's also highly processed, I'm going for a coconut nectar. So that would deepen and sweeten the flavor at the same time. So let's get cracking. So I've cleaned the bell pepper, removed the seeds and the white sinews from inside, and now I'm just chopping these. You can of course make them into beautiful sticks, but I am a mother with other things to do today, and today I also want to go out into the forest for a walk. So I'm not going to spend my time cutting them into beautiful, perfect sticks. Rather, I want results, and the faster the better, which is why I'm also quite roughly chopping up the bell peppers. And here we have them. So they're going to go in here where I've got that sauce from meal number 1, the leftover. And in fact, that's going to be even better. I find there are many foods that when they are cooked the second time around, they taste even better. And this is not going to need much more than a sprinkling of salt, because carrots and bell peppers are sweet in and of themselves, and with some heat put into them, they're going to naturally ooze out their sweetness, and that is enough flavor for me. Let's cut the tofu. Again, trying to find like the quickest way to do it. And quick doesn't mean hurried, it just means effective, efficient. Okay, and then let's cube them. Okay, let's see how far these are going to fall. Okay, I might just bring this fellow down here. And into smaller cubes. All right, let's spice this up. So first I'm putting in some oil, and by eye, but let me measure it, I would put in, okay, that is about 1.5 teaspoons. And I'm going to use my hands and massage it gently to coat the tofu cubes. Then some soy sauce. 1, 2. So in here I've got my spices, and I'm going to put these, sprinkle those over. And I know already now that I do want to have some sweetness to it, so I will put some of the syrup, and instead of saying drizzle it over, let me see, what would I normally put? That's about 1.5 teaspoons. It's very stretchy, and I want to get it all out, so I'm just gonna scoop it from there. But you can also go by your feeling if you are an intuitive cook like me. So this is going to go on the stove now. It's time to assemble all the components. So I've got the noodles here, and I'm pouring boiling water over them. These are the white rice flour noodles. Okay, just help those to open up a bit, cook more evenly. Okay, you guys do your bit, and then we're going to sieve the broth into the bowl. So just give it a stir, and put this in the base. Put you to the side for more space. So we've got the broth. We're waiting for the noodles to be ready. They're very quick. And in go sweet potato. Put that over here. The bell pepper and carrots over here. Then the noodles. I just want to make sure that they drip. Okay. In go the noodles. Oh, so beautiful. And then I'm going to get the tofu pieces. Well, yes, thank you. Not going to say no to this. Now, I would like to top it off with some nori sprinkles. So I've already, I folded this, and I've gone through the sides with a knife, just like this. And I'm going to cut some sprinkle in there. So we've got nori in the broth, so this will complement it. I haven't just taken this from thin air. And why not a little bit of chili flakes still? And there we have it. So this is meal number 2, made from the sweet potato from meal number 1, the broth from before, and let's have a closer look. Let's move on to meal number 3. You'll notice that the setting has changed, and that is because I am now back in my home kitchen in Helsinki, so in familiar territory. I'm going to make a tempeh, eggplant, rice dish. And elements of this dish will be carried over in my next meal, so I'm thinking ahead to make enough of the tempeh and eggplant so that tomorrow I'm going to have an easier time making my wraps. So I have a little bit of sesame oil in the pan here. Put as much or as little as you want, preferably as little if you're looking towards the healthier version. And in goes 1 chopped onion. That's going in first because I want that to soften before I add 4 cloves of garlic and 1 red chili, which I've already pounded away at. So I chopped the chili into relatively small pieces because I want them to spread evenly throughout the dish. And the garlic, I pounded it, and now I'm just mixing these together. And once the onion has softened, I'm going to add them in here. Now, meanwhile, I'm going to get the tempeh started. So I have here slices of tempeh, and this is my grill on my stove top, but you can do these on a frying pan or a non-stick pan. I've done it in all kinds of pans. The main idea here is to get the tempeh to have a little bit of a crunch. So what I've done is I've cut the tempeh, and I had a little bit of sesame oil in here. I had actually a teaspoon to 2 blocks of tempeh, and I'm basically out of oil at this point, but I'm just rubbing it in, placing it on the is that a skillet? I'm not sure what that's called actually, but place it on your pan, and both sides already at this point, so that when it's time for you to flip the tempeh, you don't have to start to coat them with oil at that point. Right, so those, I have to keep an eye on those. The onions are not yet soft enough to add the garlic and red chili, so let me move on to the eggplant. I have 2 eggplants like this, and in Asia you probably have also those, or you do have those long, thin eggplants. Go ahead and use those if you want to. So just cutting off the hard bit. Now you may remember that I had advised to keep any food scraps to make your broth. Eggplant is one of those that you don't want to keep, because if you put the eggplant in your broth, it's going to be bitter. So it's not really adding to your broth. In fact, it's probably even taking away a bit from it. So just cutting these into cubes. Okay, these are getting to be nice and soft. So, and I'm getting a smell. So they're getting a little bit of a glow. There's a smell. And now I'm going to put the chili in there without injuring my fingers. Meaning the chili is so hot, I'm not going to use my fingers to get this one out. There we go. Stir those in. Get in a pinch of salt. That's my pinch. Everybody has different pinches. And okay, I'm gonna put the eggplant in now. So, yeah. Now I have a nice big pan here, but some days ago when I did this recipe, I had a small pan The eggplant was just flowing out of it basically when I put it in. But these shrink. They have so much liquid inside of them that they're going to just like shrivel up sort of, but like a plump kind of shriveling up. And then they'll also soak in those flavors. So the eggplant's been here for a few minutes. It's beginning to soften up. I see some juice coming out, which is great. Okay. The temper is slowly heating up. So the way that I prepare it on this particular type of platform is on a lower heat. And let's just give that her own sweet time. So I want to add some more flavor to the eggplant now. So in here I have 1.5 teaspoons of paprika powder. You can use a smoked one if you want. And I've got 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. So that's going in. Just sprinkle it across evenly, and you're gonna mix it in. Well, mine is smoked paprika. I smell it. And then I've got 2 tablespoons of water in here, just any old cup for mixing. And I'm adding a tablespoon of soy sauce. And a little bit of coconut nectar. So that's about a teaspoon. I just know that that kind of sweetness together with the eggplant works together really well. So mix these, and why I've got that warm water in here is so that the syrup mixes in better and I can just more evenly spread it out, rather than putting in like a thick squeeze of the syrup and then it's all in one part and it's difficult to mix evenly. So that goes in. So now we wait, and once this is done and these are done, they're going to go on in this bowl with some rice, and you could stir fry some bok choy, love, but I want to have a fresh element in here, so I'm going to use some romaine lettuce. It's time to get the rice out, so I've steamed mine in a steam oven, but that's up to you. Maybe you're going to use a rice cooker or do it on a pot, a steam oven if you have one. So I've chosen to go with basmati rice, but you could use sushi rice if you want to have something that's more sweet, because you add the sweet rice vinegar to that rice. You could do black rice, really healthy, or a brown rice or a red rice. A scoop of rice, that. And then let's get our eggplant. And the tempeh. And then I've got some melissa here, so I love to use lots of herbs. So I've got some melissa here. And some white sesame seeds. And perhaps you want to add a few pieces of fresh chili as well. And there we have it. Time to move on to meal number 4. But before I do, I'd like to say a few words about meal number 3. So because we have a variety of flavor preferences in our family, what we ended up doing was our own variety of spicing up on that meal. So I wanted to have more salt and soy in it. My youngest daughter added some mayonnaise and sriracha to her rice because that's her thing. She loves to do that with her rice. And now that and also what I did was I ended up putting the the tempeh into the eggplant for the other servings that I made, because I did feel that that tempeh was a bit too dry. So I'm going to recommend that go ahead and marinate it before you fry it. You'll get more moisture and more flavor inside it. So now for meal number 4, we're gonna, this is simple, this one. So you need a wrap or 2 depending on the size. I actually like to use bigger ones so that I can get more filling inside, but this is the size that was available, and we're going to fill it with the tempeh and eggplant from yesterday or from the meal before, and some guacamole, crème fraîche. It's vegan, of course, so anything you can do to reduce your dairy intake as well is, the planet will thank you, the animals will thank you, and your body will thank you, as well as some cilantro. All right, so in here I have 1 clove of garlic, and I've already mushed it up, and I love to have some raw garlic in my guac. And I'm adding in 2 avocados, 1 at a time. This is going to be a little bit messy. I don't mind. I think it's fun. Another half. If you put them in all at the same time, you're going to end up with a big mess. And now, so that's a total of 2 avocados. I know you see 2 peels, but it's 2 avocados. And mash these up. Some salt, sprinkle, and lemon juice. 1 teaspoon, 1.5 teaspoons to start. Mash that up. And now I want to get that garlic from there to infuse throughout the guac. You can do this on a plate with a fork, no problem. In fact, we've done that many times. Like when traveling, it's a really easy thing to do. And what I love about avocado is that it's so filling, it's got healthy fats in it. And you can also easily include that raw garlic in it for immune boosting qualities. Let's put it together. So this is the crème fraîche. I'm using the Oatly brand for this one. And I'm buttering it up like this. And then I'm going to put the guacamole. And I have to keep on reminding myself, not too much. So make more wraps. This is not the entire meal, like make as many wraps as you need. Because of the size of this, it will just all ooze out. Some tempeh and some of the eggplant as well. Like that. Some lettuce. I'm going to rinse my fingers. Some lettuce for some crunch. And the cilantro. So I love herbs, so I'm putting in a pile. I remembered everything. I'm gonna sprinkle some black pepper there. And let's fold. Yep, definitely a smallish wrap. All right, and flip. And I'm going to show you what it looks like inside. For a wrap this size, I wouldn't necessarily cut it in half, but I want you to see what it looks like inside. Okay, poke and cut it slant wise. There we go. This is the inside. Now, hopefully you have an idea of how you can prepare one meal and already think of the next meal and carry over items to ease up on the time factor the next day, and also to use ingredients that boost your immunity. So we've used a lot of them, even in this meal, which was so simple to make. You've got the ones from yesterday, and you've got the raw garlic, avocado, lemon, cilantro. So it's actually nourishing, quick meal. To wrap up, I'd just like to say a few words that will hopefully encourage you. So, as you listen to the different speakers throughout this summit, you might be inspired to start making changes in your own life by reducing your intake of meat, dairy, seafood, chicken, eggs. It's a long process, and personally, I believe in taking things slow and steady. So no matter how excited you are, if you go cold turkey overnight and just go vegan, for example, tomorrow, it's probably going to be a huge shock on your body, and also it starts to become more of a mind game. Like, it becomes too much in one go, and you just have to tap into a huge amount of determination, and you'll have to be saying no a lot to many things. I prefer to take it the slow way, and I'm happy it took me actually decades to get to the point where I am now, where I'm fully vegan in the food that I put into my body. So lay foundations and make small changes at a time, and start with one thing. Maybe omit dairy to begin, for example. And also keep in mind that the goal isn't perfection, the goal isn't an ultimate huge transition in one go, but rather to consider wholeness and what feels whole for you, what feels good for you, step by step. And every time that you reach such a place in your journey where you're like, okay, well, now I've eliminated dairy, I can shift my focus to the next thing. Let's say that it's chicken. And then you work on that. Then you've built up another layer, another foundation that you can then start to build upon. So I encourage you to focus on a whole over perfect and do it at your own pace. Make it enjoyable, get inspiration from the other recipes that are shared throughout this summit and all the different speakers, and reach out. You can reach out to me and ask if you have any questions about the recipes, or how did I do my transition to a plant-based diet. And well, we are here to support you. So I'm just delighted that you are here listening, watching, learning, because that already tells me that something inside you is telling you that it's time to make a shift. So I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you, and welcome to the plant-based world.